Hey, what's up, guys? W312 here. Again, one more time with. Well, this is the first one that you saw earlier today, or whenever you're getting to this video. This is the first timeline. If you haven't seen the first video, link is in the description, and I will also put it at the beginning of the video so you can click on it and watch that first. The next photo, as you see right here, is my timeline of when I think the actual events could or should have would have happened with the origins or the timeline of zombies. Now, after these sets of videos, I will post another video of what I think will happen at the end with the Easter egg. So, first we start off origins in the same place. Mob of the Dead is in the same place as well, with it being on December 31st of 1933. And then where the first change happens is I went from 1939 to 1945 with Notch and moved it to April 30th. And where did I get this date from? I got this from the end of the mission in World at War, the final mission, which drops you into Notch on April 30th, 1945 was that date for that mission. Berucht, the date 1945, and it's of September 10th, anytime between September 10th and the 20th. How did I get this date? There were radios around. One of them said that a man had died on the 20th, so it's either on the 20th or sometime before it, possibly. And then on the 10th, I think there was a radio also saying the 10th was a date too. So I think that's how I got that. I don't quite remember. It was a while ago. Shano Numa. This was just a random date, but the 1945 is confirmed, considering that's the group's premiere map was Shano Numa. So unless you got Black Ops and you know nothing of World at War, the original characters were just 4 random Marines. We never heard of Richtofen, Nikolai, Takeo, or Dempsey until Shano Numa. And that was their first map, and Takeo states many times that it's 1945 on that map. That's how I got that year, and the date is just a random date. I would picture somewhere like mid-October. And November for Doris as well was 1945, due to many radio messages and writing on some boards. Kino der Toten, I made a change to that. As you can see from my first picture, if you didn't see it, like I said, go back and look at it. The original date they had for that was 1967. As I mentioned in my previous video, they could have time traveled, but they haven't said anything about knowing how to time travel at this point. We only knew that they knew how to teleport, not time travel. So I think that maybe this was 1960 that they could have gone to Der Toten, or maybe 1962. It's possible, because if you think about it, if you would have moved that to 68, that would have been after the events of Moon. So tell me, they must have either time traveled to where it would have stopped whatever Richthofen's grand scheme was, never had been written, gone to Kino der Toten in 1968 to do something special, and then go back to 63 so they can go on to 5 in Ascension and do Richthofen's starting process, the grand scheme. So that's the only thing I could think of if they would have it at 68. Because if you notice in Kino, there's no cracks in the earth, there's no this, there's no that. All you see is just basic Germany. You don't see any lava pits, you don't see anything that would resemble events after Moon. The next thing you see is 1963, 5 in Ascension, which do happen at the exact same time. It's anywhere between October 1st, and I didn't put this on here, but it's anywhere between October 1st and November 22nd, which is the day Kennedy died. I got this date from various radio messages, and there was something else I got it from. I don't really remember too much. But, yeah, that's my predicted date for that. And it's kind of hard to make out which is which, but 1965 is for Shangri-La. They had to visit it before the Moon, whether it be before the Moon or before Kino der Toten completely. I don't know. I just put 65 as a good start date to go off of because it has to be before Moon, so maybe somewhere in 65. Before it was somewhere in the year 2000. Now, it's actually believable that they could have had it in 2000, possibly, or sometime thereafter, because they did know of time travel at this point. And it's knowable that they did know time travel via, you have to time travel via the Easter egg to help another group, which we are calling Group B, and the transit group obviously is Group Transit, I guess, the Green Run group. But Group B, the old group, the old group or whatever, we had to help them via time travel in Shangri-La. So they knew of time travel in this map. This is where we first discovered that they know of time travel. Um, so yeah, and then the next map is the Moon slash Nuketown, where Richtofen's Grand Scheme takes place. And again, going back to Shangri-La, going back to the point of which if they knew about time travel and they time traveled from 63 to 2000, they would have stopped their time of Richtofen's Grand Scheme, because technically Richtofen wasn't there to make it, so it never happened, so they traveled to this time period of which they left, which the Grand Scheme never existed, and that's how Shangri-La looked like it was intact. And like I said, it could be the possibility with Kino too, but like I said, when we heard about Kino, they didn't know anything about time travel that much. Sorry, I'm losing my breath a little bit. But anyway, we get to Moon. They know about time travel. They know about teleporting to great distances. They go to Moon. They do the Grand Scheme. At the same time, there's a bunch of people in Nuketown fighting off random hordes of zombies. And at round 25, Richtofen takes over the zombies completely. And we see this be the eye color change from orange over to blue. And the several quotes we hear from Richtofen, which are part of the Moon's Grand Easter egg, stating, therefore, that Moon and Nuketown are coinciding. And the 5 and Ascension coincide because basically when you're in 5, you can go up to these telephones and you can hear voices from Ascension doing their Easter egg. And if you're on Ascension, you go up to random, I think it's telephones as well, you'll hear calls from Mr. Kennedy. Well, not Mr. Kennedy, the wrestler, I mean from John F. Kennedy. So, about 20 years after the events of Moon, Marlton, who was apparently trapped inside a Nuketown, has been founded by Misty, and they meet up with Samuel and Stupinger, or Stuhlinger, as everybody else would commonly know him as, but I call him Stupinger just like Misty because she's my favorite out of the whole group, the new ones anyway. But anyway, in this, they all meet up at Transit as the verified and buried at the beginning. If you watch that little solo beginning comic thing, I guess it's a comic strip. I'm not really too sure, but if you watch that, it verifies that they all met up at Transit. 2 plus 2, Marlon and Misty met up with Stupinger and Russman. And then about 10 years after being in Transit, Green Run, they get teleported over to Die Rise, and then after Die Rise, they get teleported to Buried. Now this all seems pretty much right intact. And, oh, I forgot to talk about Call of the Dead. That happens on March 17th of 2011. Now the reason like again, just like Shangri-La, just like the possibility for Kino, since the team already knew about teleportation at this point, and time travel, as mentioned, they time traveled to this by accident, this Call of the Dead. They left from my predicted date for Kino der Toten, and they left from there, never completed the Grand Scheme, and went to Call of the Dead. So therefore, the Grand Scheme never happened, and technically, these guys are possibly still alive with the Easter egg and everything. So, and by these guys, I mean Sarah Michelle Gellar, or whoever they are, SMG, I guess, Freddy Krueger, Danny Trejo, and I know his name. He's Merle from Walking Dead. That's how I know him. But I'll just call him Merle. But they're all still alive, and technically nothing's wrong with their universe because it hasn't happened yet. So that's what I'm saying for that. And the next video will be about possible Easter egg, how I think it's all going to end, as well as possible new perks. Spencer out. See you guys later.